I'm JP Tuesday.
And I'm Kiki Cannon. As lifelong Disney fans, the work of countless talented Disney creatives have shaped our lives.
Now, as the Disney catalog expands, we're taking a journey through film and television to discover if that spark that shaped us as children lives on in adulthood.
Does your favorite Disney media still cast that same spell? Join us as we find out. We are Rewatching the Magic. This week, I misplaced my co-host Tuesday.
Quit telling everyone I'm gone!
Sometimes, it's like I can still hear his voice.
Woman, I'm right here! And we're here to talk about the Disney animated movie, Brother Bear. Do you remember that, Kiki? Brother Bear?
Actually, no. Once I started watching this movie, I realized I have never seen this movie before, and you know this because I immediately messaged you and went, "Damn it, Tuesday, you tricked me into watching another Phil Collins Disney collaboration."
Yeah, so this is, hey, Tarzan had come out, it made money. Disney thinks, hey, Phil Collins equals money, won us an Oscar.
It shouldn't have, but it did. Go listen to our Tarzan episode.
So they thought it could do it again. And like Tarzan, really none of the characters are singing any of the songs. The story just stops so Phil Collins can sing a song.
And at one point, Tina Turner. I don't know why Tina Turner is singing the music in this. Why not?
Disney had that money, they could afford it. So yeah, Brother Bear. I have made the joke before about Brave. We'll go back to our Brave episode where Brave is Scottish Brother Bear. And I think you kind of understand where I get the joke from.
Yeah, and we'll get into my feelings on that more as we go into why you said that.
So this has a bit of a history into it in that this movie was the final movie to be mostly animated at the Disney MGM studios in Florida before they closed that animation studio down.
Yeah, we've talked about that studio before.
Mm-hmm.
And their history.
Mulan, Lilo and Stitch, and Brother Bear. Those were the three movies that were, for the most part, animated at the Disney MGM studios. And you can go back to those episodes and we'll begin to hear our thoughts on that.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this one is the kind of first draft of this was also written by one of the writers who worked on Tarzan, of course, because this is coming off of Tarzan, and they ported over a lot of the same people. But he also, Tab Murphy is the screenwriter here that worked on the first draft anyway. He had worked on two movies which we absolutely adore, which are Hunchback of Notre Dame and Atlantis, Disney's Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
Which you can go hear us gush about for way too long in both of our episodes on those movies. Two of our favorite Disney movies from the late 90s, early 2000s. Tarzan, neither of us really liked that much. Let's just be honest. Spoilers for that episode. Neither of us are big fans of Tarzan. I don't know how much this changed from his kind of early draft because the screenplay And story by for this movie is credited to like 20 freaking writers. And I don't know, because it is hard to tell with these sorts of things, who gets the final stamp on the final draft of the script, you know? I'm willing to believe that this probably had kind of a banger script at the beginning, because at least 2 of the 3 movies that he worked on for Disney prior to this were like 2 of my favorite Disney movies ever. So, eh.
I mean, this is also post-Disney Renaissance. So, I mean, the post-Disney Renaissance, a lot of the movies are hit and miss. You know, everyone people will pull out a Lilo and Stitch or an Atlantis or even Meet the Robinsons, but those are the exceptions to this era.
Yeah, we have talked about this era before, and it rightfully gets that.
Shall we say experimental is the kind word I would use.
Yeah, we've used the word experimental before for this. Some people call it the second Dark Age. I've heard it called before. You know, the first one being the time that they released things like the Black Cauldron and all that. But that kind of post Disney Renaissance period.
By that logic, some have said that we're currently in a third Dark Age, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I don't think right now, while we're in it, we can really judge. Yeah, this was a bit of a creative and financial slump for Disney.
The Broadway musical format that defined the Renaissance era wasn't making the money anymore. They tried. I mean, towards the end, like I said, Tarzan didn't really have the Broadway musical because, again, it's just Phil Collins singing a song every scene. But the vibe of the Broadway musical style movie wasn't. I guess people had to miss it because they would come back with movies like Frozen and Tangled, and that would bring it back up. And it seems that they tried to do that again with like Wish, and we will talk about Wish in a future episode. And that didn't really make the money that they were hoping for. So I think we are in another slump of the general audiences not really wanting the Broadway musical format. And maybe the next generation will have it. Let people miss it. Would this movie...
I mean, you say that, but as we're recording this, one of the most recent theatrical releases to make all of the bank is Wicked Part 1.
Yeah.
So, which is literally just the Broadway format ported into film. So, I'm not sure I can agree with that.
Also, I think it's a situation of the people at Disney, the actual creative people, saying that they probably don't want to be pigeonholed into that Broadway musical format. Let's try something else. I don't know. And that was the entire point of the experimental era. Let's try different ways of storytelling that isn't the Broadway musical format. Those experiments came at varying levels of success and failure.
Yeah. I just think that for the most part, I'm not sure that the hey, let's stop the movie for a random Phil Collins song format is the way to go. They do it a little bit in the occasional Pixar movie with, like, Toy Story. You get that Randy Newman song. But here's the difference. Randy Newman tends to get like one song per Toy Story movie. You know?
Mm-hmm.
You get that, You Got a Friend in Me, or, in the later films, it's not even a Randy Newman song. Or in the later movies, you get When She Loved Me. Not even a Randy Newman song, but it fills the same purpose.
I'm not going to let you throw yourself away in Toy Story yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that one or not, but whatever.
But you get like the one big song, and it's usually done over either a montage, we're traveling somewhere, or we're becoming buddies, or it's done over a very emotional flashback, that sort of thing. So it still moves the story forward through the cinematography, and it works in the same Broadway style, even though the characters aren't singing it. It's like in a Broadway musical where maybe there's a prolonged dance number in the musical, but maybe the characters aren't singing, but you've still got the music playing and people are dancing.
Where the song stops for about 3 minutes so the characters can dance.
Yeah. It's kind of that same thing. You still feel like the story is progressing forward, but maybe the story is just being told through choreography, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
In a Pixar movie like Toy Story, it's being done through the cinematography, and then you get a omniscient narrator via Randy Newman telling you lyrically how the characters are emotionally feeling.
Like in Toy Story 1, Won't Go Sailing It No More, it's Buzz realizing he is a toy. He is not an actual space ranger. And we get that through the Randy Newman song.
Yeah, and so they use one, maybe two songs in the entire movie. The cinematography is very effective, and you can remember exactly what is going on visually during those songs, and it still evokes emotion in the audience and storytelling in the audience, okay? The problem with things like Tarzan or Brother Bear is that when the Phil Collins song starts, the movie just kind of stops. The plot stops. Visually, there is stuff going on, yeah. In Tarzan's, swinging around trees and sliding on limbs and stuff. But can you really remember what is going on during the sequences of those songs? I mean, I just watched Brother Bear for the first time, I admit, but I just watched Brother Bear like 2 hours before we recorded this. And if you told me to tell you what is going on visually during any of the musical numbers, I could not recall. Because the musical numbers in this movie do not move the plot forward. I mean, you just rewatched it, and you've seen it before. You just rewatched it in vaguely a similar time period.
Yeah.
To when we are recording this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you had to put money on it, do you think you could recall accurately what is mostly going on during most of these song numbers?
None that doesn't involve dialogue.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the visuals.
Yeah, the only thing that I can remember are songs that have breaks in it so characters can have dialogue. And even then, I'm remembering the dialogue.
Yeah. But if I asked you to think back to When She Loved Me, and put money on it, do you think you could relatively remember the visual storyline of that sequence from the movie?
Oh yeah, yeah, I can tell you that. Yeah,
Yeah, you'd put $20 on that
yeah,
easily. Yeah,
yeah.
me too. And it has been the last time I saw that movie
So we did the
was when
podcast.
we did the podcast on it, which has been like 2, maybe 3 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. I mean, 2 hours ago, I wouldn't put $1 on whether or not I could remember what was going on in any of the musical numbers in this film. Yeah. But $20 I could describe to you what was going on in a movie I have not seen in 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
It has, yeah. That's why I don't like these Phil Collins things, because I love Phil Collins as a musician performer. Like Phil Collins with Genesis, awesome. Phil Collins as a solo artist on stage, give me some of that. Phil Collins working with Disney, do not want.
It's like, just because you're a great musician doesn't mean you can make music for a musical, Bono.
Yeah.
I will never not take an opportunity to drag Turn Off the Dark.
Nor should you.
So let's talk about who's in this movie. Joaquin Phoenix is our main character, Kenai.
This movie has our favorite thing ever, stunt casting.
I will say, and this is another strike against the movie, this movie features Inuit people, an Inuit tribe, and they're played by white guys.
Not all entirely white guys, but mostly white guys.
And this is coming off of Disney doing everything possible to be as inclusive as possible in their casting of, an all Asian cast for Mulan, or a mostly, Native American cast for Pocahontas, mostly. So to have your main character that is a person of color, a native character, be played by a white guy for the sake of stunt casting, WTF Disney. Couldn't there have been an Inuit actor that you could have found? I understand that you need the name value of Joaquin Phoenix, and you want to take that name value. And I am not disrespecting him as an actor, but I'm saying, after years and years of, up to this point, this is 2003, up to this point, trying your best to be as inclusive as you can with your casting, yeah.
Interestingly, the only person that I know of in the cast that was actually a indigenous Inuit actor is the man who serves as the narrator. He was a anthropologist who was also an actor as well, and he was from Alaska, because this is set in Alaska. He's not with us anymore. He was also in the TV show Northern Exposure. If you ever watched that, I grew up with my dad loving that show, so I remember that from my childhood. But his name was Oscar Kowagli, I believe, is the name how you pronounce his last name, and I apologize if I got that wrong. But anyway, he was really important in helping anthropology look from an indigenous perspective, because usually it tended to be from a colonialist perspective. And he was like, hey, that's probably not the way we should do that. um, so it was he was kind of cool from a academic perspective. Um, in addition to his acting career. And as far as I can tell, and I apologize if any of the actors in here do have Inuit heritage, I am unaware of. But as far as I could tell, looking through the cast and researching the cast, he is the only one in the main cast that I could find that actually claimed Inuit heritage. And I did go through the main cast members for all the major speaking roles to see, like, hey, can I find if any of these people actually do kind of claim any Inuit heritage? And while the cast is not entirely white, we do have people like Michael Clark Duncan in here and all that. We also have Jeremy Suarez playing Coda.
At the time of this movie, he would probably be well known for being on the Bernie Mac show. That was his
big role at the time. He was the little kid on the Bernie Mac show. But yeah, most of the cast is relatively white, and only one of them seems to have any indigenous heritage that I could find in my not entirely extensive, I will admit, research, but in a relatively quick run through. So yeah, I am kind of baffled about that. You do an entire thing about an Inuit tribe, and here's the thing that kind of annoyed me. One of the songs that Phil Collins wrote was translated into an Inuit language. Was it sung by Inuits? No, it was not. It was sung by the Bulgarian Women's Choir. You could not even get an indigenous choir to sing this song, Disney? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. But we may not have Inuit actors. We got some Canadian actors. Good day, Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas. Bob and Doug McKenzie. And they're playing Bob and Doug McKenzie.
Yeah, they're given different names. They're called Rut and Took, which I love that one of them is called Took.
I got my thinking toque on, Hoser.
Yeah.
Take off.
And I'm going to say, in this entire film, which you will very quickly figure out, I mean, spoilers for the big question at the end of the episode, I did not have a good time watching this film, with the exception of any time this Bob and Doug Moose bit was on screen. And fortunately, they show up quite a lot after their first appearance. Like, once these two show up on screen and you realize, like, if you know who Bob and Doug are, that character, and if you don't, they are characters from SCTV. And if you don't know SCTV, go look it up. You are missing out. One of the great comedy shows ever.
I mean, I would even put, the best, during its time, it was, okay, it was, 70s, 80s, so it was during what many would be considered to be the weaker seasons of SNL in the 70s and 80s. That weird time of SNL in the early 80s. It was SCTV. Flipped SCTV and you were getting the comedy that you weren't getting on those weird odd seasons of SNL. Fight me on
Yeah,
that.
I mean, and I mean, SCTV was where you got some of our greatest comedy geniuses from.
John Candy. Yeah.
Yeah, and Harold Ramis worked on there, and Catherine O'Hara. Come on. That's where
Eugene
Catherine
Levy.
O'Hara.
Martin
Yeah.
Short. Martin
Yeah.
Short.
Come on. I mean, this was there. But as far as like some of the most famous characters to ever come out of SCTV, you are gonna, yeah, Bob and Doug were it. And once you get, if you've ever seen those sketches, you get within about 20 seconds, oh my God, this is Bob and Doug. And then you realize, like, it's not just somebody doing an impression of Bob and Doug. This is Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas.
Yeah, they got them specifically to play Bob and Doug McKenzie in this movie. Before there was Wayne and Garth, there was Bob and Doug.
Yeah. And so once I realized that, I was like, okay, now I'm having a good time.
All it was missing was the theme song. And boom.
And we're such comedy nerds that this was made for us. You know, like this is one of those, we talked about jokes before where we're like, why the heck is this in here? And then we're like, this had to be put in here specifically to be like, hey, you two specific comedy nerds.
Somebody at Disney, either one of the writers or one of the directors or whoever was like, you know what, I want this movie takes place in Alaska, Canadian Moose, and who are going to get to play the Canadian Moose? I'm thinking something like Bob and Doug McKenzie voices. Well, let's just get them.
Yeah, let's call them up and see if they're free. Which honestly, Rick Moranis was still when he was not really doing anything, because he had retired for a long time to raise his children.
It's only only recently that he actually came out of retirement.
Yeah, but he since this was, you know, voice work and he did not have to be on set for a long time or whatever, he would occasionally do things like this during that time.
I mean, he would just have to go to a studio and record for a few hours and then go home. He could do that while his kids were at school. Yeah.
So, he would occasionally make exceptions for things like this, and for once I am so glad he did. Because it absolutely saves this movie. We not too long ago, as we're recording this, you know, a few episodes back, we talked about Lion King 1.5. And that was just the Timon and Pumbaa movie. I know they made a Brother Bear 2. I do not care about Brother Bear 2 unless it is just the Bob and Doug Moose story.
It is not.
Yeah, I mean, like, I will watch it if, like, there is a reason for us to do it for the podcast. But honestly, I do not particularly care to watch it unless it is the Bob and Doug Moose story. Which I would watch that immediately. I would have delayed doing the podcast recording to watch Brother Bear 2 if it was just about those two moose characters. Because they are the best thing in the movie by, like, miles and light years.
The only other major character in the movie would be Kenai's brother, Denahi, which was played by Jason Reyes, primarily known as a stage actor, a Broadway stage actor. probably best known for being in terms of the Disney connection, the adult Simba in the Broadway version of The Lion King. He passed away not long after this movie came out.
Yeah, this was his first and sadly would be his only film role.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that there is the third brother, and he is played by D.B. Sweeney. And this is a really crappy use of your D.B. Sweeney.
Like, he only speaks in the opening part of the movie, and then when we see him again as a spoiler for those of you who haven't seen the movie, and we see him as a spirit later in the movie, he doesn't speak.
I mean, there's a lot of like cool background characters, like you said, we mentioned Michael Clark Duncan. Greg Proops has like 3 lines in this movie. Also a crappy use of your Greg Proops. Polly Perrette has like 1 line in this movie.
Yeah.
Which, bad use of your Polly Perrette.
And Estelle Harris has one scene, 2 lines, 3 lines, and it's so good we made it our opening bit.
Yeah. And like, filling out, I mean, you got all the kind of, well, some of the greats of modern voice acting. You got Pamela Adlon, you got Debbie Derryberry, you got Roger Bumpass, you got, I mean, like, they're in here.
Bumper Robinson as the 2 chipmunks.
Oh, yeah. You got all these wonderful voice actors, and their, background voices or just, cough and you'll miss them kind of voices. They are woefully underutilized. This is such a frustrating movie. Apparently, at one point, the idea was that, like, Lion King was based on a Shakespeare play. Apparently, this was originally supposed to be a Shakespeare play. It was supposed to be like King Lear, but with bears.
Huh.
Which would have been amazing. I don't know at what point in the process that was. Like, I don't know if that was the kind of version of the script that I talked about before, that Tab Murphy worked on. But good grief, would that have been potentially fascinating?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you translate King Lear for like 8-year-olds, But
yeah, Disney would have found a way.
I'm not sure it would have worked, but I would like to see somebody try. Instead, we get the early version of Brave, but not as fully fleshed out as the story of Brave would originally be. I mean, would eventually be.
And I had to text you earlier just to prepare you for the opening of this movie, because some people have complained, especially in those early days of Disney Plus. You can tell that there are people who've only seen like the VHS version of this movie, or only seen it on Disney Channel. But if you watch this on Disney Plus, it does keep the theatrical version, which kind of pulls a sort of Wizard of Oz in that in the opening of the movie, the opening 30 minutes of this movie is completely in 4:3, aka full screen aspect ratio. Which, coming into the movie, if you don't know that, people have complained, oh, the beginning of Brother Bear is messed up. or Brother Bear is not in the right aspect ratio. They messed it up. It's like, no, it's supposed to be this way because this is how it was shown on a theater screen. It would make sense on a theater screen. So it kind of pulls the Wizard of Oz method of, we're going to take this in one format and change it to another format. And the director has stated that this was done to show that Kenai has a very narrow worldview. He has a very narrow worldview, and that once he becomes a bear, his worldview is expanded, hence the aspect ratio stretching out to normal film aspect ratio. Again, it's very Wizard of Oz, how it's black and white, and then it goes to color as Dorothy's worldview is expanded. In this one, it is mostly aspect ratio style, which is a nice idea. But again, in the age of streaming, and you're not watching this on a theater screen, it's going to confuse some people.
It kind of reminded me of when we were watching Oz the Hideous and Terrible or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they started out in the Kansas sequences with the movie in the tiny aspect ratio, and it was black and white, and then it moved to widescreen and full color and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Except, and oh god, I hate this movie so much, it's going to make me give Sam Raimi a compliment. It made sense in that movie, and I don't feel like it made sense in this movie, because honestly, if you asked me why it started in a different aspect ratio in this movie, I would not have said, oh, at the beginning he had a narrow worldview and then it expanded as he became a bear. Because I did not get that. And I can guarantee you a 7-year-old would not get that.
There probably would have been a better way to do it, or just do it in a normal aspect ratio for the whole movie.
Actually, the question was brought up in my household as we watched this. Do you think a 7-year-old, like at the point when he gets turned into the bear,
Mm-hmm.
because that scene is very, like, in Beauty and the Beast, where they go through like the beast is turning back into the prince, and you see, and it's like beautifully animated, and you actually see like every point of the transformation and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That is not this movie. This movie is kind of like, we get a bit of the spear, we get a bit of the like, it cuts away and there's a shadow, and then we cut back and there's a like bit of fur on the ground, and then like we see the aurora in the sky, and then we get the
They say
and
that
the question was raised in my house, which was like, do you think a 7-year-old would understand at this point that he had just turned into a bear? And our answer was, I don't think at that point that they would have. Like, I know immediately it cuts to like the shaman or whatever of the tribe coming and finding him and being like, you're a bear now or whatever. And it's made much more explicit for like, hey, if you didn't understand that previous scene, here's what happened. But I'm kind of the opinion that maybe you shouldn't have to explain that. I know the character himself is confused, but maybe the audience shouldn't be as confused as the character. Maybe I'm alone in that.
I don't know. Bear dies. Here comes Spirit Brother. Spirit Brother grabs him and then he glows. We cut to third brother trying to go after them, and then bear.
Yeah, because I mean, the progression of this is that there's three brothers, and the youngest one is so eager to get back to the camp so that he can get his spirit totem that will, according to the tribe, it will show him the direction of his life depending on the animal totem that the shaman will gift him that day.
And it will also make him a man.
At least it's the first step on him becoming a man in the eyes of the tribe. Mm-hmm. It seems it's a little muddied, but his older brother, the D.B. Sweeney character, the oldest brother, says to him, the youngest one, Kenai, is given the bear of love. Because it's not just like, oh, you're a bear, you're a wolf, you're a what? You're the bear of love, you're the wolf of wisdom. So his oldest brother, who got the eagle of guidance, says, I didn't understand it either until I was further on my journey and I realized that the eagle of guidance meant I was supposed to be a leader. And so I know that you think the bear of love doesn't mean anything, but you'll discover it on the way or whatever.
And he's very, bears don't love. Bears are savage hunters and...
Yeah, they're evil and they just want to kill humans.
And his brother kind of makes fun of him by getting him a little flower crown and...
Yeah, the middle brother.
The middle, yeah. Basically,
who is supposed to be full of wisdom, remember?
It's like, yeah, he's full of wisdom. Yeah, he's full of wisdom. Does he act wise? No.
Yeah, the Wolf of Wisdom brother is like the biggest doofus goofball in the movie. So I can get where the eldest brother is the eagle of guidance or whatever. And I get where the youngest brother eventually becomes the bear of love. But that middle brother starts and ends the movie as the wolf of... I can't think of a W word that, the wolf of wackiness, maybe. I don't know.
But it's not until he's an old man where he becomes the character at the beginning of the movie. So he is our narrator.
Yeah, I suppose, but, maybe he becomes the Wolf of Wisdom at, 65 or something, but...
Yeah.
But throughout the visual of this movie, he's the Wolf of Wackadoo, The thing is that, talking about things that do not age well, and this movie is what, 2003 or something?
Yeah, so it's over 20 years old.
But, well, I'm just saying, it's not that old, yeah, okay, it's 20 years old, but it's not we're not talking about the 50s here.
Mm-hmm.
He gets the bear of love, and his middle brother, the middle brother, the wolf brother, is like, oh, let's bring you a flower crown and make kind of vaguely homophobic jokes about you being the bear of love.
Yeah, I was getting there. I'm
like, that aged like milk.
Yeah. But at least I will say that the bear motif fits this movie more than it does Brave. Because at least the bear is a spirit symbol in this Inuit tribe, where the bear in Brave is just because the old witch really likes bears. Because there's bear carvings and, oh, this magic spell will turn you into a bear. She's just obsessed with bears. the point is that Kenai does not like bears, and the bear they're fishing. The bear steals their fish. He goes after the bear in anger because he they the other hunters, including his two brothers, blame him because, oh, you didn't secure the fish. That's how the bear got him and took him. So they go after the bear to try to get the fish back, and in the altercation, in an attempt to save his other two brothers' life from the bear that's attacking them after they kind of attacked the bear first for stealing the fish, the eldest brother dies from in an attempt to save his brothers. He sacrifices himself to take out the bear.
In a weirdly villain-esque Disney death.
Yeah, they never find the body. They just find his parka. I don't know what the other word for it would be. His clothing.
They find some of his outerwear, and his totem.
Yeah.
They find his eagle totem that he wears around his neck.
So yeah, no body, but they have the burial for him, and now Kenai is out for revenge. He's going to find the bear that he believes killed his brother and kill the bear. And Wolf Brother saying, yeah, don't do that. Don't do this out of anger. You will upset the spirits. Because in a way...
Which is maybe the smartest thing he says all movie.
Yeah. Because what he's planning to do, okay, hunting for food. Again, this is the timeline of this movie is post-Ice Age. We have mammoths in this movie, in case you didn't figure that out. So this is post-Ice Age. Hunting for food is one thing. Hunting out of anger, hunting out of revenge is something completely different, and dare I would say, upsetting the natural order. And that's what he does. He is hunting out of revenge. He is hunting out of hatred. And all this bear did was, okay, just going by, the bear acts like a bear. This is not a cartoon Disney bear yet. We'll get there. But the bear is just acting on its instincts. So the bear didn't really do anything wrong. The bear saw fish, took fish, hungry. The bear was attacked. The bear retaliated. The bear didn't kill their brother. The brother sacrificed himself to save his brothers from the bear attacking.
Yeah, he was attempting to kill the bear with his sacrifice.
Yeah.
Like, if I take out this bit of glacier that I'm standing on, it will take out both me and the bear. But the bear survived. I mean, it is Kenai's fault because he did not secure the basket correctly, the basket that held the fish. They had come back from fishing. They had this giant basket of salmon. They know there are bears in the area, and they do not want to attract them. And if you've ever gone out into the woods, now if you're in like a national park or a state park where bears are around, I don't know how much you go camping Tuesday, but normally tended state parks or national parks will have like bear boxes that will lock, that you can put your food inside or your trash inside, that will keep bears from being able to smell or at least get to your either your food stores or your food waste that you bring into the area. Before those kinds of things, early people came up with other ways of keeping their food supplies away from bears. And Kenai did not secure his food properly. And the bear's gonna bear,
Yeah.
Like, bear's just being a bear. And I hate to say it, but like, once you lose your basket of salmon to the bear, stay away from the bear. Like, you don't go hunting down your food stores if bear gets to your food. You go, well, that's on me. I did not secure my food properly.
Like I said, the bear was just acting on its own natural instinct. You can't blame the bear.
So they do several really ignorant things in this situation. One, Kenai does not secure the food properly to keep it from either attracting bears or from the bear being able to get to it. Two, he comes back and he sees, oops, my mistake, I did not do that correctly. At that point, he should have been like, well, that's on me. I'm going to go back to the fishing hole and catch me a whole mess of salmon again to make it up to the tribe. Because that's on me. Instead, he goes, let me go hunt down the bear that took this and try to get my salmon back. Dude, your salmon is gone. That salmon is bear chow. As is that basket, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that basket is a bear plaything. Like, bear gets a hold of something, that something is the bear's. Like, is gone. Bye-bye. But no, he's like, I want my basket back. I want my salmon back. Let me go stalk this bear and get my stuff back.
And his brothers have to go after him to watch their brother because, oh, great, now my little brother's going to go get himself killed by this bear.
At that point, the older two brothers should have been like, you know what, it was nice knowing you, Kenai, but you are also the bears now.
Okay, sorry, Mom. Sorry, Dad. Kenai is bear chow.
Yeah, no, I mean, he did it to himself. That is also on Kenai.
Mm-hmm.
You should have taught him better. What kind of parents were you?
But it's him being impulsive. It's him trying to prove himself as a man. That is the entire point of the movie, is him trying to prove himself a man and utterly failing. So you could take this as a toxic masculinity perspective. It's literally man, picking the man or picking the bear.
No. I mean, in that case, I'm like, I would go with picking the bear. I mean, you always pick the bear in that case. But if it's like, if Kenai had been like, oh, if not friend, why friendship? I'm going to go hug the bear. She gave me the bear of love. I'm going to go hug the bear. And the bear was like, bear doesn't want hugs. Then I'm like on Kenai's side. I'm like, that's probably how I'm going to go out too. Like, leave the bear alone. Again, that's on me.
This bear ain't poo.
Yeah. If again, for the record, if I go out petting something I shouldn't be petting, you leave that animal alone. That was on me. Okay? We're not hunting down that animal and taking it out for the good of humanity. No. That was on me. I screwed up. I'll take that L. I died as I lived.
But yeah, he goes in after he screws up, after his older brother is dead, taking it out on the bear. I'm going to take my spear, I'm going to hunt this bear, and I'm going to kill it in revenge for killing my brother. Take the bear of love totem and throws it away. Because he has no love. He only has hate for the bear. Which, again, the bear did nothing wrong. The bear just was being a bear.
Yeah, like, Kenai, you keep provoking the bear. Like,
Do not poke the bear.
Yeah, do not poke the bear, especially not with a spear.
I will say that, again, because this is a Disney movie, we never see the spear impact the bear. And because he is our main character, our main protagonist, the killing is done in self-defense, even though he went purposely out to kill the bear. The movie is very confusing in that regard, because he's going there to kill the bear. And then the bear attacks. And then he picks up the spear and the bear leaps at him, and then we cut to a faraway shot and the bear screaming. So even though he went there to kill the bear, the killing is done in self-defense. Because we need to have this character be likable.
Yeah, and the thing is that we kind of don't see the bear die. We just kind of see the bear's body bloodless, slumped over, and then it evaporates.
The gods are angry. The gods are angry. He has upset the natural order.
Well, yeah, the Sitka, the eldest brother, the eagle bro, shows up in, eagle spirit form and evaporates the bear's body, and then like I said, it's very confusing even to an adult. It's kind of, except that you've watched the trailer or read the blurb presumably before starting the movie, and also it's called Brother Bear, so you've probably already gotten that idea. So you as an adult kind of get the idea that, like, okay, so Kenai's been turned into a bear. If you're younger than that, you probably won't get it until the next scene where we see it from Kenai's perspective, and the shaman shows up and she's like, "Oh, Kenai, you went and got yourself hurt and transformed into a bear and everything." He's like, "What? A bear and everything?" And then you see it from the shaman's perspective, and it's just a brown bear going roar, 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 roar. And
I'm
she's
sorry,
like,
I can't speak bear.
Yeah, she's like, "I'm sorry, I can't speak bear." And he's like, "What? I'm not speaking bear. I'm just like, And then he realizes that, like, all the animals in the forest are talking to him, because he can hear chipmunks arguing over, like, "So where did the food go?" And then there's this other chipmunk with just giant cheeks, like, "I don't know where the food went. I didn't eat it." Like,
so yeah, the point is that all Wolf Brother sees is a bear and then tattered clothes of his brother. Oh no, this brother ate my second brother. So the brother killed my older brother and my younger brother. I swear revenge. I'm going to kill the bear.
the interesting thing is that no human can understand the animals, not even the shaman. But Kenai can still understand the human speech, but now can also understand all of the animals.
Well, bears don't have human vocal cords. If he is exactly in a bear's body with a human mind, yeah, sure. Disney movie.
But you know what I'm saying? None of the other animals have picked up on human speech. Not even a word. Like, they're not like, "Oh no, the man cubs are screaming kill." Like, at least, like, in Jungle Book or something, like they kind of understand a word or two, then Mowgli kind of learns to communicate with because he's spent time around them,
Hmm.
In this, it's just kind of weird though that like Kenai apparently has the brain of a bear, and I get that it's the Paleolithic period or whatever, and so they're going with like, okay, so he can't write it down like I'm Kenai because we're just in like the time of cave drawings, and they haven't invented written language, but he can still understand all the human language, and now he understands the language of every animal.
Apparently, animals can just communicate with each other. So like
Yeah.
there's human language and there's animal language. Like there's not I wish there would be a movie that would be more like that. That bears have their own language and wolves have their own language and they can't communicate because, but Disney movie.
Well, I mean, you kind of get that a little bit with Dory because she
Yeah,
can speak whale, so you have the idea that like maybe there is like a common speech among aquatic animals and like maybe aquatic animals have a universal language
maybe.
and their own native language. I don't know. It's kind of funny.
All right, so let's get into the brother of Brother Bear, our little cub Coda, little Coda, who's been separated from his mother. So he wants to go to this salmon run, this basically this part of the lake where all the salmon are, and and when the bears get there, they have stories to tell about the last year of their lives since they only meet up once a year. But he thinks, oh, well, I've been separated from my mom. Well, we both know where to go, and we're gonna go there, and we'll meet back up there. And meeting up with Kenai, and since he is essentially an only child, he kind of has now a new big brother, a brother bear. There's your title.
Don't call me a bear.
Yeah, that's the joke, is that he's not a bear, he's a man that got turned into a bear. And of course, since it's the same thing as the Queen in Brave, he doesn't. Neither one knows how to act like a bear, so when they try acting, trying to fish for salmon and whatnot, can't do it. But the point is that he's a cub, he's a kid, so he's going to act a little annoying. He's going to act a little braggadocious. I can do this. It was this, that, and this. So like he does act a little annoying, but it's because he's a kid. So he's acting like a kid. You can't blame a kid for acting like a kid. I know some people like doing that, but you really can't. It's sidebar here. People tend to say, let kids be kids, but they also want kids to not act like kids. Can't have both. But yeah, they're on their way to the salmon run. Meanwhile, Wolf Brother is on the tail of them to kill who he believes is the same bear that killed his brothers. But yeah, and this is kind of where the whole bear of love thing comes to a head, because it's him learning to care, learning that bears are not these heartless evil hunters and evil beings that he believes them to be. They have stories to share. They have wants and dreams. They have families.
I like the point where we first start to get this idea that he will eventually learn, which is where Kenai tells Coda that his brother was recently killed by a monster, because he can't say bear. That would take too long to explain. And so he just says monster. And a little bit later in the movie, Kenai and Coda come across a cave drawing that presumably one of Kenai's people has left there. And it shows a fight between a bear standing on its hind legs and a human wielding a spear. And Kenai and Coda are both observing this painting, and Kenai is focused on the bear standing on its hind legs, paws out, maw gaping, teeth showing. And Coda says, "Wow, what a terrifying monster." And Kenai looks back to be like, "Yeah, it really is." And he sees that Coda's eyes are transfixed on the figure of the human holding the spear, hunting the bear.
It's all about perspective. It's all about perspective. From the perspective of a human, yes, a wild animal could be seen as a monster. But from the perspective of the animal, the human hunting it is seen as a monster.
Because neither of them understand the motivation of the other. Like we said earlier, the bear had no ill intent. It was just being a bear. Whereas, I mean, we understand human motive, but take away the bear here and replace it with a deer, okay? If a deer is scared of a human hunter, they don't know the motive, but it's, maybe that hunter's tribe needs food. Maybe they need clothing. Maybe they,
Mm-hmm.
And in the same way, it would be as if a deer came across a bear. Not in this movie. We'll get to that. But, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
In the wild, if a bear and a deer run across each other and that bear needs food, things are probably not going to work out for that deer unless the deer is fast enough. So it's not necessarily that the bear has hatred for the deer or that the hunter has hatred for the deer,
Mm-hmm.
And that's why Kenai angered the spirits. He wasn't hunting the bear for food. He wasn't hunting the bear for pelts. He wasn't hunting the bear for necessity or because his tribe needed what the bear could provide. He was hunting out of hatred and revenge. And that upsets the natural balance. You hunt out of need. You hunt to provide. You do not hunt out of anger or greed.
Oh, we can make a whole podcast series out of the other side of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do like that point of the movie, and I think it would be a better movie if they had talked about that point more. As an adult, you understand that more. I think kids needed that lesson more.
When I explained it earlier in the podcast about upsetting the natural order, that line is never said in the movie. It is implied that, hey, don't upset the spirits, because that is what Kenai is doing. He is upsetting the spirits. He is upsetting the natural order.
And if you know even the most basic about most Inuit and just most indigenous cultures, that is kind of how hunting was seen. I mean, especially throughout the Americas prior to colonization. That there is a very strict balance. You don't take more than the tribe needs from nature. You know, you take for food, you take, you know, for the amount of clothing, you leave the rest there so that it can continue. You don't overfish, you don't overhunt, you don't overharvest. And that's how, you know, and for a lot of tribes, I mean, I'm not saying that every tribe was nomadic, but a lot of tribes were nomadic so that no one place would get depleted. You know, and that's not just in the Americas. There were lots of nomadic peoples throughout the world. That was a good way before kind of more current agricultural practices, let's say, to ensure that your group did not deplete the resources of a particular area. You know? Stay a little bit here, take what you need, don't stay too long, move on, let that area, you know, have time to refresh itself, you know, that forest, that plain, that particular group of, you know, bison or deer or whatever you subsisted on could have time to reproduce and build up their stock again. And by the time you came back in a year, 2 years, 3 years, then there's plenty to sustain your tribe again. And, you know, it was a pretty good way of living for, you know, many thousands of years.
Yeah. I'm going to skip ahead here because a lot of well, there are a lot of funny moments. They're not really
plot heavy.
Yeah, they're not. Other than the fact that these two bears are trying to come together and find their common ground and become the big brother, little brother, which is fine.
I mean, we kind of left out the point that Kenai is trying to get to, which is where the light touches the ground.
Yeah.
Which is supposedly the point where the northern lights meets the top of this particular mountain.
Yes, because the shaman lady says if you go there, your brother will be there and you will turn back into a human.
And she does say something about, like, once you have learned the lesson you need to learn or whatever, which is kind of vague. But Coda says in passing that, like, hey, yeah, we should go to the salmon run. It's right up there where the light touches the mountain. And Kenai's like, Yeah, sure. I'm all about that salmon run. Let's go there. So, yeah.
Yeah. So we eventually get there, and there's a bunch of bears there, and like I said, they each trade salmon, and they tell their story of what they've been up to for a year. You have the two bears that in the last year we found each other and we fell in love, and you have I miss my husband Edgar, and there's a Russian bear there for some reason. Are we still in Pangea here, or?
Yeah, I don't know. But he's a Croatian bear for reasons. I don't know why. I assume this joke has some purpose that I am not understanding.
Why do these two moose have Canadian accents where Canada hasn't been Canada yet? It's there for the joke. I get that they're Canadian moose. I get that, but there's no Canadian accent yet. But whatever. But the point is that Coda has this story that he wants to tell, that he's been wanting to tell at Salmon Run. He's been trying to tell this story to Kenai, and Kenai doesn't even want to hear it because, hey, I just want to get to the salmon run. I'm trying to get to where the light touches the mountain so I can be a human and get away from you stupid bears. When Coda gets his turn and Coda starts telling his story, we now see the entire beginning of the movie told from his perspective, which honestly is probably, in terms of plot relevancy, the best part of this movie. Because we have this little kid, this little child. Let's take the bear aspect out of it. This is a child saying, I was separated from my mother by a monster with a spear. And this monster with the spear went after the mother, and like the flashback, and then when Kenai figures out what's going on, the zoom out, and then flashing back to him as a human hunting the bear that turns out to be Coda's mother.
Yeah, and you finally see it from Coda's perspective.
Yeah.
Because he was watching that fight where elder brother Eagle died. We find out that Coda was watching the whole thing from a bush that his mother had hidden him in just before the humans had shown up.
Which explains why she took the fish. She had a child to feed.
And why she turned violent, because a mama bear will protect her cub. That is the most dangerous a bear will ever be, is if you come across a mother bear with at least one cub.
And then he realizes what he's done. The reason Coda and his mother have been separated is because of him. And his mother's not coming back. And Kenai is just, oh, what have I done? What have I done? Because you want to talk about upsetting the natural order. Taking a child's parent away from them in cold blood, out of revenge, out of your own mistake? No wonder the gods were upset at him. No wonder his brother had to teach him a lesson. That is the lesson that he needed to learn. And him just running out like, oh, no, I don't need to. I have to not be here. I need to be anywhere else but here. Because he realized what he's done. When Coda finally catches up to him, like I said, you mentioned, is there any of these Phil Collins songs that you remember, and I say I only remember the ones with dialogue, and this is it. I only remember this song for Kenai's confession. And we don't even hear the confession. We hear, Coda, there's something I need to tell you. And then the Phil Collins song starts up. And then Coda says, I don't like this story. And I don't know if this scene would have been better if we had gotten the full confession without the Phil Collins song, or if it had been simply a zoom out cutaway as Coda says, I don't like this story. Just imagine Coda, like you're just this kid who got separated from his mother, thinking, oh yeah, she'll find me. We were going to go somewhere. I just need to go there and she'll come. And then the guy you just met said, your mother's not coming because I killed her. How do you explain that to a child? Take away the bear. How do you say that to a child?
Yeah, I mean, it is a rather brutal story. I can't even imagine that, that sort of situation. You understand Coda's reaction. Coda runs away, He's just like, cannot deal with this. And Kenai leaves on his own and continues. He can see the mountain now where he's going.
Yeah.
And so he continues on. But Coda, in running away, runs right into the, Bob and Doug Moose brothers.
Yeah, they were there at the beginning when he turned into a bear and kind of teasing him, and then they get separated when they're riding on the mammoths up to the salmon lake. But they finally make it back, and they're brothers. It's in this part where we find out that they are brothers, like Bob and Doug McKenzie are brothers. And they're having this argument. It's your fault we got lost. It's your fault we crashed the mammoth. How do you crash a mammoth?
Yeah, I don't know how you crash a mammoth. Well, actually, I do know how you crash a mammoth because I've done it before in a video game. It's a good video game, too. There's a Far Cry spinoff called Primal, and you get to ride on a mammoth. And because you can't drive cars in that because you're a like a Neanderthal or something. Mm-hmm. And so you have to like tame various animals. So you tame like a saber-toothed tiger and a woolly mammoth and stuff like that. And so I have indeed crashed a mammoth in a video game, at least.
It must have been a hell of a crash. One of them is missing an antler. And they had this argument. It's your fault. It's your fault. That's it. I don't want you to be my brother anymore. I'm with, hey, it's the little bear cub. He can be my new brother. And again, him just hearing the story of how his mother dies is, no, I don't want any more brothers. And we get this great moment between the two Moose characters. And it's like, you don't mean that. You don't mean that you don't want me as your brother anymore. Who was there for you and they go through all of these things, who stayed with you when your hoofs got frozen in the pond? Who taught you how to graze? Who was there for you when no one else would? And he would go, yeah, you were there. And I was there because I love you. Now, he says it in a funny way because masculinity. But he says it straight up. I was there for you because I love you. So there's like this moment of that's what brothers are for. That's what brothers do. Brothers are there for each other because they love each other. They are, even though brothers can get on each other's nerves. Trust me, I got two brothers. They get on my nerves, but I love them. And, brothers are there for each other. And that is the moment for Coda. Brothers are there for each other. Meanwhile, Kenai is climbing that mountain. He does not want to be a bear anymore. He has learned his lesson. He realized what he's done. He's ready to be a man again, or human. He's ready to be a human again. So he goes up the mountain, finds the northern lights, and calls for his brother. Hey, please change me back. I've learned my lesson. And here comes Wolf Brother out for blood himself.
Yeah, I do like the fake out in this moment, because you see a shape coming through the light and mist on the mountain, and he's pretty sure it's Eagle Brother in his eagle form, and it turns out to be the pelt covering. Again, I don't know what it's called, and forgive me for that, but it turns out to be that sort of not cloak, but whatever the garment is that his wolf brother is wearing, that in the shadows kind of looks like wings. And I love that fake out where he's like, yes, here comes Eagle Brother, and everything is like, nope, Wolf Brother with spear, there to attack you.
And he's calling him out, please, brother, change me back, before my brother kills me.
Yeah, and of course we see it from the perspective of the brother who is still human form, and of course it's just the roaring of a bear.
Meanwhile, he's begging his brother, please don't do this, please. And I do love the back and forth there, because from his perspective, he's saying, please don't kill me, please, brother, please. And all the brother is hearing is this bear roaring at him.
Which sounds very intimidating, as you would imagine. But I like that if you look at the way they've choreographed the fight, you can very definitely tell that Kenai is using only the most defensive moves. He's not taking any move that he thinks would injure his brother. Even though he's bigger and, he has the bear form now, he's got these giant paws with giant claws. If you've never seen what an actual full-size brown bear paw looks like, good grief, he could easily accidentally do injury to his brother. And knowing that, you can tell how carefully he's acting. And I love the animation of this fight sequence, because if you go back and watch it carefully and understand, it's very clear that the Disney animators, as is their wont, studied the movements of bears and the way that they use their paws and the way that they stand up in their attacks and the way that they fall back down onto all fours and everything, because they can't keep that upright position for very long. The way he kind of sort of does the, wrestling throws, which uses his human knowledge a little bit more than a bear would, which I like, to get his brother off balance, which you can tell that, Wolf Bro is not really clocking the situation, because at that point you would be thinking, okay, I'm on a mountain we have given magical significance, and this bear just used a wrestling throw on me. That's not a thing bears do.
Yeah. And as Wolf Brother's about to, got his knife up, he's about to stab Kenai. Here comes little Coda to knock him out and steal his spear, and the brother's chasing after him, and Kenai's like, no, don't hurt him. It's just a child. He's just a cub. He's protecting his brother. And it's like, that whole sequence from Coda coming in all the way to Eagle Brother saving the day it's a short sequence, but it is beautifully animated. Especially the dark circles under Wolf Brother's eyes they give him throughout this whole scene. Like, he is out for blood.
And also, he has been stalking these two bears for days now.
Probably with no sleep.
That is the thing about humans, is we are not so much ambush predators as we are pursuit predators.
Mm.
I mean, a pursuit predator will just follow you and follow you and follow you until you are too tired to carry on. And that is probably what good old Wolf Bro here was hoping on, that, like, these bears have to rest at some point, and I will catch up to wherever they are going.
Yeah, and Wolfbro finally realizing that the bear he's been hunting this whole movie has been his brother. And that the shock on his face and throwing away the spear, like, oh my God, what was that? What was I about to do? I was about to kill my brother.
And also at the same time, the look on Coda's face, like, I have traveled across the wilderness with a human in a bear suit, apparently. Like,
Yeah. And like you said, once he's a human again, Kenai no longer can understand Coda. Coda is just growling.
And then, of course, we get very quickly, I mean, the resolution to this is so fast. Kenai is like, yay, I'm human again. Oh, wait, if I stay human, this little bear cub's gonna die. Because he's got nobody to take care of him. I do not know how he comes to this decision. Because literally they are not that far from the giant group of bears who already knew Coda. Like, Michael Clark Duncan Bear already knew Coda.
I mean, you can give him to Greg Proops and Paula Perrette Bear. They could practice being parents.
Or, maybe Estelle Harris Bear wants to be Grandma Bear,
Grandma Bear is worse than Mama Bear.
But you know what I mean? Like, yeah. There is literally a whole, I don't know what a group of bears is called, but, there's a whole group of bears down there.
I think it's more of, it's his responsibility. He did kill his mother. So it's he's taking that responsibility.
Do bears work on Mandalorian rules? Like, this is a foundling and now I have to take it in and care for it?
But he is saying, he needs me. And he's taking that responsibility of parent, or, as they say in the movie, big brother. And it is also a growing moment for him, because going from youngest brother to big brother.
Yeah, so he's like, hey, Eagle Bro, can you turn me back into a bear? I really dig being a bear and not so much into being a human anymore. I'm going to stay here and raise this little cub and, eat all the salmon I want. And you know how it is.
I will say the animation on the... You mentioned the animation of Beast turning into a human at the end of Beauty and the Beast. That is what they try at the end of this where he turns back into the bear, but it's like half the animation frames. Because it's nowhere near as dramatic. Again, I understand why it was dramatic in Beauty and the Beast, because we've never seen the human form before. But for here, we've seen the human form, we've seen the bear form, but they do try to make it as in that vein of transforming from human to bear, better here than at the beginning of the movie.
And then, of course, we get our wrap-up, which is that they bring these two bears back to the tribe to kind of tell everybody what happened, and the shaman's like, oh, and we see at the beginning that when you become a man, you dip your hand in the paint they use for cave paintings, and you put your handprint on the sacred cave wall or whatever to be like, hey, I am a member of this tribe, and here's my handprint to prove it. And so instead of him putting his handprint, Kenai puts his paw print, and they're like, you are a man now, Mazel Tov. And then the narrator, who we find out is apparently the Wolf Bro, says, and that's the story of Kenai, who became a man by being a bear. And my only thought at that point was, I mean, the gay community could have told you that ages ago.
Also, we get Disney trying to do Pixar, because we get outtakes.
Would these count as outtakes, or are they just like adorable little segments?
They're like extended scenes cut from the movie. That's what it feels like.
But I mean, I'm not going to be mad about it, because all except for one are Moose Brothers. They're Bob and Doug bits.
I mean, the culmination of one of I don't forget which one it was, of one of the moose inventing yoga early in the movie, because he has a bad back, so he invents yoga, and then teaching the bears during the end credits how to do yoga.
I like that their sun salutation is just like lying on your back and putting your butt up to the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Which I haven't done a lot of yoga, but I'm pretty sure that's not sun salutation. But whatever.
Yeah.
And
then we get we had mentioned it before. We get a post-credit scene.
Yeah, and this was where, okay, the post-credit scene saved me from like a really long rant. Because, like I said, in normal wilderness, you'd have like a bear coming across a deer and, that kind of stuff. So the bears come across lots of prey animals in this movie. We only see them eat one thing, salmon. And throughout the entire movie, there's only one animal that does not seem capable of speech. Salmon. Up until this post-credit sequence where Coda comes out to be like, the producers would like you to know that no animals were harmed, or no salmon were harmed in the making of this movie. And then in the background, you see a salmon like jumping through the water, being like, "Help! It's gonna eat me! Help!" And then like you see Kenai chasing the salmon and everything. And once they get off screen, you hear this like crunch, munch, 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 munch. But it's kind of brutal, which, I mean, points. I'm not against it, but it is basically like an apparently sentient creature being eaten by another apparently sentient creature, which I don't think we get again until like Andor or Mandalorian, one of those two.
as Coda is going, cut the camera,
Yeah.
putting his
So
paws
they,
over the camera, just like, no, you do not watch this, do not see this.
yeah, so they do confirm in that post-credit sequence that the salmon can talk and they are still a food source for the bears. Which, I mean, points for, pointing out that nature is brutal.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was uh certainly a choice for a Disney movie.
Yeah.
I mean, mostly because I think like they were just like, okay, we'll put this in here for the like two adults that are gonna make a point of being like, oh, so the salmon don't talk and that's why they can be eaten. Um, which, yeah, okay, if you're that other adult, let me know. Um, I guess that was the other thing in the movie that was put there just for me. The Bob and Doug Moose and the bit about the salmon can talk.
Yeah. But in terms of longevity for these characters, like I said, you mentioned it. There's a Brother Bear too. The Kenai and Coda were characters that you could meet at the parks, but Kenai is a permanent fixture in one park. That is Disney's California Adventure. A wood carving of Kenai is in the forest area. You've been to California Adventure, Kiki. That wood bear carving, that's Kenai.
I'm not even sure if I noticed it, and if I did, I probably didn't even get the reference.
And it's only there because bear is the animal of California. And they needed a bear character to show off. And at the time, Brother Bear was the most recent movie when that park opened. So, Kenai. But, I mean, we've already done it, but we'll for formality's sake, Kiki, does Brother Bear have the magic?
The bits with the moose have the magic. Everything else, just watch Brave. It's a much better movie.
I will say yes. However, I will agree that Brave is a much better movie. But I will reiterate that I think the use of bears make more sense in Brother Bear due to the use of animal spirits and animal totems versus Brave, where it's just a witch obsessed with bears.
I will point out, I mean, I was going to do this earlier, but I will point out that there used to be bears in Scotland, and they have been hunted to extinction since the time that movie was set in. But, uh, or maybe they had already been hunted to extinction by the time that movie was set. I can't remember exactly when that movie was set in, but there's a reason that the witch is obsessed with bears. There used to be bears all over Scotland, so it's not completely out of nowhere for there to be bears in Brave. But yeah, you can still see wild bears if you go to Alaska. Sadly, because somebody overhunted them and made the spirits angry, no more wild bears in Scotland.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's all we can say on Brother Bear. Next week, a movie based on a Roy Orbison song. Pretty Woman, walking down the street. This is one of those movies we've referenced a lot on this podcast, but now we're actually going to talk about the movie.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to talking about this one because I don't know about how you grew up, but me growing up, this was a big hit in my household when I was growing up. So I have seen this movie about a billion-dejillion times.
Just gonna put that out there. Pretty Woman is an R-rated movie, because the main character is a lady of the evening. So next week won't be for the kiddies. Sorry.
However, the week after that, we will come back with a PG-13 movie. And after that, we got a nice G-rated one. So, we'll be back to our normal thing. But for next week, R-rated movie. Sorry.
R-rated podcast. So, grown-ups, come back next week for Pretty Woman. Kids, come back in 2 weeks for something fun. So get ready for that, and we will talk to you all next time. Bye.
Bye.
Don't let the magic stop here.
Keep the conversation going. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Rewatching the Magic.
We are also on Blue Sky, rewatchingthemagic.bsky.social. And new episodes are available every Monday at rewatchingthemagic.podbean.com and youtube.com/@rewatchingthemagic. Remember, the magic is for everyone.
It only stops if you let it.
We know that right now, things are tough.
But in the words of Jim Henson, the only way the magic works is by hard work. But hard work can be fun.
Check out our show notes for ways that you can help.